Welcome back to the Brandon T. Adams audio experience. I'm Brandon T. Adams, and I'm sitting here with Erica Gifford Mills. She's an international speaker, award-winning author, and the founder of Balance Symmetree, a company that's all about helping individuals and leaders grow from the inside out. We recently connected through a powerful collaboration. We're both co-authors of this amazing book here, The Impact Leaders. Really excited book that's coming out soon here with Kevin Harrington. And Erica, I'm excited to dive in. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much.
Excited to have you. Excited to tell your story. You live in Wisconsin. I'm an Iowa guy, so the Midwest. I love that. I love your story too. Very inspiring. Also the just traumatic things you've overcome in your life. But before we jump into that, 30 years in corporate.
Yes.
Can you talk about what was that career like? Tell me what you did in corporate.
So I paralegal by trade.
Yeah.
I worked in law firms, government agencies, and corporations, very large global corporations. And while I learned a lot, it was also very stressful because many times you're doing the corporate ladder, right? You're trying to
working
climb
your way
it.
up, trying to get to the next position, next pay.
Yes, and that can be take away from who you really are if you're not focused and know yourself. And I found that I was burning out.
Tell me that moment, because I've seen so many people who spend a good part of their life in that kind of career. What was a moment in time where you said, okay, Erica, you need to make a change. I want to leave this life. Like, what happened? Where were you at?
Well, I would say the first was when I was spending more time at work or on work calls than with my son.
Yeah.
And it was actually, when he passed this last September, I was like, that's it, I'm done. I can't keep doing this because I was not setting appropriate boundaries. And I was not leading authentically from my heart, and you just lose control. You do the people pleasing, and that's where I knew it was enough.
A lot of people fall in that trap of always trying to get the, what's the word? Hey, look at me. Hey, I want to please everybody.
Yes.
And that becomes a whole thing, and
Right.
endless.
Because where do you stop?
Yes.
Right? You start doing this, and then you start doing a little bit more, and then you do a little bit more, and then you've erased your line.
And you don't take care of yourself.
Nope. Yeah.
So I can't even imagine. So you survived breast cancer, but also you lost your son recently, which is so horrible. How, with all that traumatic loss in your life, I mean, people watching right now, listening right now, could probably imagine, how did you get through it? Because there's other people that have been through things like yourself. Those dark moments, what did you do?
Well, I drank a lot, honestly, but I knew I was doing it because I didn't want to feel.
So you turned to alcohol.
I turned to alcohol, and I didn't do that for a long time. It was just in the beginning. And then I realized you need to live for him. You need to live for his legacy. And that really changed my perspective, is making sure that when you ask for help, well, one, be willing to ask for help.
Yeah.
Accept it, reset your boundaries, and reclaim yourself. Reclaim your peace, reclaim your power, and reclaim your purpose. And that's what I did.
So, I've had on the show before people who struggled with alcoholism and overcame that. I'm curious, what were, beyond alcoholism or a traumatic loss, what was a thing that you did to take that action, from stop choosing the drinking to go and change your life around?
It was really a mindset shift and taking time to slow down, to breathe, and then be intentional with your actions. And that's what I just started doing. I root down and rise up, because life doesn't stand still.
I'm curious, meditation?
Meditation, mindfulness, exercise. Every morning I start with coffee, gratitude, and meditation.
God, I love coffee. But we're just talking about how coffee can be addicting. Well, I don't drink alcohol, but I definitely drink the coffee.
Yes, so it's having that time with yourself to continue moving forward, and then make sure you're healthy, mind, body, and spirit. Because if you're not exercising, if you're not eating right, and you're not surrounding yourself with positive, because it's not about just what you eat and drink, it's what you hear, who you're surrounding yourself with to keep moving forward.
So let's talk about how you help people live a rooted lifestyle. What are the steps? Because I know people work with you. Talk through that. Somebody listening, watching right now, the different things you do with someone to really get them, and you've overcome so much, like, what's your process?
It's live, love, and let go. So
That's so good. Live, love, and let go.
yes. So one, love yourself.
Yeah.
You have to practice self-love and self-care. Otherwise, people won't know how to love you, and you won't be able to love others. Making sure that you are setting boundaries to make sure that, because that's a self-respect, right?
Yeah.
Self-love and self-respect is boundary setting. And then,
Well, let's go deeper into the boundary setting,
Yeah.
because I know certain family members who aren't good at like that boundary setting. I am. I'm maybe more blunt with things. How can somebody set a boundary with somebody in the most way that's not uncomfortable or offensive?
respectful, right? Because I think people think saying no is taboo. It's
Yeah.
not. They need to say, communicate first. Communicate, because you can't assume someone's going to know your boundaries. That happens in so many relationships, personal and professional. Once you do something as a favor, you think you can't say no. Is have a conversation and say, make I statements.
Yeah.
I feel this way when this happens, right? Because somebody can't argue with your feelings, but don't turn it around to a you. Also, making sure that if your boundaries change, you communicate that I'm doing this working late. I'm doing this because I know we have a project, we have a deadline, and I can do this, but this isn't a regular occurrence. Because if you set that in the beginning, it's going to be easier to say no, and you don't have to have an excuse.
You know, that's actually something I've had to do more and more recently as I've grown as an entrepreneur, is I do very little leisure time. And so I get texts or calls all the time, hey, can we go do this, do that? And I just learned to say no. And for me, it's good to know, because I'm very blunt. I'm just say, hey, I got something, or just sometimes don't respond.
Yeah. Well, and you also started off with, thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
But I can't, or I don't want to. And that's fine too, because sometimes you just don't want to.
Okay, setting boundaries, what's the next step?
Live. And what I mean by that is live for every day and every moment. Don't wait until you've accomplished that major goal to celebrate. When we have that time for celebration and appreciating each little victory and each step forward, you become more joyful and
Yeah.
more grateful. And that's when we have to live with passion on purpose. So.
Yeah. So I want this message. I'm going to ask specific questions. We've had in the show past cancer survivors, and just the things they've overcome to get to this point. You've gone through so much. For somebody listening right now that is dealing with cancer right now, what's your message to them to fight through?
Stay strong. Ask for help. And if you don't know how to ask for help, just write it. Because sometimes seeing the words, that they don't want to be seen as weak.
Yeah.
And asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's actually your superpower. Being vulnerable and accepting help, it's necessary for your well-being. And just root down, stay positive, go to support groups. Mindfulness for cancer patients is actually, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And look up the book and find it. It's awesome.
You know, I'm thinking back in my career relating to rock bottom moments. Like, it could be whether, let's say, dealing with something financial or dealing with something with, let's say, cancer or loss of a loved one. I look back and I kind of throw it to you on a messaging. 6 years ago, lost everything. Everything was taken from me. My wife was depressed because I couldn't provide for her. It was a very difficult time in my life. There's probably a lot of others out there that are dealing with some kind of, as an entrepreneur, tragic loss or even financial loss.
Yes.
What would you say specifically to them to help get out of their groove, to keep pushing forward?
First, stop. Have a moment to breathe. In a world full of hustle, you need to have that moment reflection, even if it's 5 minutes. And then stay positive. Surround yourself with people who are going to support you. And I don't mean financially, I mean support your dreams, support what you want to do with the rest of your life. The naysayers, those are the people who are just bringing you down.
Yeah.
So learn to surround yourself with people like you,
Yeah.
right? And
Level up the energy.
yeah, it definitely. I mean, who do you want to be? Do you want to be people that are bringing you down, or do you want to be people who are bringing you up?
You're speaking my language, and that's why this book we did together, The Impact Leaders, was all around being around other leaders. Myself, Kevin Harrington, that's when I first met you, I just knew like that energy you brought to the table, you think the same way. Talk about how powerful it's been for you being around those kind of people, how it's elevated your success, just the energy.
It is completely the energy, and it's how you get excited for yourself and saying, this is what's possible. And when you have those people who say, yeah, let's try it, let's do it, it means everything. Because if you are questioning yourself, like, I don't know if I can do this, I wasn't going to be sitting down talking to you or Kevin, and here I am. And if you stop the negativity and just think of the positive and take action, you have to go all in, and you have to do something. Otherwise, you're always going to be in the same spot.
And that's exactly what you're doing, taking action.
Yes.
So for the book here, for people that are going to go check this out, tell me just a glimpse, Cliff Notes version about your chapter.
My chapter is on rooted leadership. We dive into looking at how do we lead from within to have that chaos and the calm, right? And when people are all around you making those tornadoes, you need to learn how to be calm. And by knowing who you are, your values, and your core, you can show up with purpose, with passion, and with authenticity.
So we're going to wrap up here soon, but just can you share what's next for you? What's on the horizon? How can people find you?
BalanceSymmetree.com, all social media sites, Balance Symmetree. There's something in those pages of that website for you to look at, whether it's coaching, whether it's books, whether it's my speaking engagements. Connect with me. You can DM, you can text me, you can call me, you can email me.
So I want to bring something up. I mean, over my life, I've lost some loved ones, and you said live the legacy for them, live for them, and I've said that before, and I've done even where I've done memorialships and scholarships for certain people. Been doing over 10 years now for people that have passed. What would you want people watching or listening to remember about your son, or what's the legacy you want to leave for him?
Really be proud every moment. And he was always very proud and took pride in everything he did. And that's what I want to continue. And I'm also working with a couple organizations to bring policy changes as well as awareness for mental health for active military and veterans. And knowing that mental health is not a weakness. Again, it's survival.
Yeah.
And when we can work with individuals before they're to that point of suicide or PTSD, we can change lives, not only in the military, but everywhere.
I just want to acknowledge you for everything you're doing. Thank you. I know we'll be doing more stuff in the future. For those of you watching, you can visit balancesymmetry.com to dive deeper into her programs, coaching, and books. Be sure to follow her on social media, Balance Symmetry. And until next time, you all know what time it is. It is time to go out there, create something great, and become unforgettable, because life is too short not to. I'm Brennan T. Adams. Have a great day, everyone.